What's up guys, Ryan here, back with another absolute banger video for you today. Today I'm going to be taking you from a complete noob in Premiere Pro to an absolute pro by editing this very YouTube intro. You'll be able to download this footage or work along with your own footage, and by the end of it you'll be able to navigate the Premiere Pro timeline. I'm going to demystify it so you can just jump in, you know where everything's at, you know the shortcuts. Then I'm going to show you how to cut a tight edit and master your sound so it sounds amazing. I'll show you how to create titles just like this, graphics just like this, plus we'll touch on some color grading and more, so don't miss out. This one's going to be amazing, and make sure you stick around to the end because I'm going to show you the #1 plugin that I use absolutely every day, and it makes my life so much easier. As always guys, a like goes a long way. If you like this content, I put this out for free. I could be selling this, but it's free because I just love YouTube. And if you want to stay up to date, make better videos, even make money with videos, drop a subscribe as well. It's all very much appreciated. We just hit 5k. Thank you so much. And finally, if this project isn't enough, I've got tons of projects on Skillshare. You can get a free month with the link in the description. You can create Hormozy style reels. You can learn After Effects inside out. You can create the perfect Fiverr gig. It's all there, so make sure to go check that out. But that's enough. Grab your coffee and let's get to work. Alright guys, so when you've downloaded your footage, you should have a little folder which is going to have a couple of assets in like this. Like I said before, you can follow along with your own footage, but I'm just going to show you using my footage. Now we're going to open up Premiere Pro. We're going to hit New Project. I'm going to name this properly because naming conventions are really important. So I'm going to call this YouTube September PP Beginners, something like that. And then I'm going to go into my YouTube folder, into Premiere Pro for Beginners. I could even create a new folder here and call this Project Files. And now we've created a new project. And I will say one thing guys, something that I have really learned from making tons of videos over the years is that preparation with footage is absolutely key. So staying organized. It might feel like it's more work, but it's going to save you a lot of headaches in future. So just to make sure we're on the same page, I'm going to go up to Window, Workspace, and I'm going to go to Editing. So this means that we're in the editing setup, so it's designed for editing. Now my screen might look a little bit different to yours because I'm on a wide screen, whereas if I move it like this, you know, you're going to be able to see the whole screen. But if your screen looks roughly like this, then we're on the right track. So before we do anything, let me just give you a quick overview of Premiere Pro, some basic settings and things like that. So the first thing you absolutely want to do is go to Edit, Preferences, and then Autosave. And just make sure your autosave is on for every 5 minutes or so, because if something crashes and then you lose your save, you know, all hell breaks loose. So now we've got a bunch of different panels here, and this might look overwhelming to a complete beginner, but honestly, it's really not that difficult. Anything here with a blue line around it can be moved around, and if you do this by accident, let me show you how to save yourself. Suppose you move things around, you're like, oh no, I don't know where everything's gone. So we're going to go Window, Workspace, Editing again, and just reset to save layout. That's always going to get you back to the default space. So we don't necessarily need all of these borders, metadata, for example, these panels, sorry. I can close that panel. Audio clip mixer, I can probably close that. Libraries, I don't really need libraries at the moment. We don't have to get too complicated with that. I'm just showing you that you can set things up, and then eventually when you've got a workspace that you like working with, you can go to Workspaces and you can go Save as New Workspace, and you can just name it your name or default or whatever you want. But anyway, just to make things make sense, let's start by just importing our media. So there's two ways we can do this. We can go to File and then Import, or we can just go to our folder. So I'm going to rename this now YouTube Assets. And now if I drag this folder in to import media, it's going to create a folder with the media in. If we double click on any of this media, it's going to show a preview in the media box. That's not really going to help us learn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the folder, and then I'm going to select all my assets and drag them into import media, because I want to show you an important thing. If I press Control and B, it's going to create a bin, which is basically a folder. So I can put A-roll. A-roll is the main narrative, so that's just me actually talking. And then I can drag my A roll, which is this file, which I'll actually rename to A roll, I can drag this A roll into the A roll bin. Then I can create a new bin. I can right click new bin, and I'm going to call this B roll. And B roll is our screen capture and our long screenshot, which I'll show you about later. And now if we click up and down on these icons, it opens and closes the folder, which is really useful when you've got A roll, B roll, graphics, After Effects compositions. You want to keep it all nice and tight. Now, if I click these views, I can swap between folder view and icon view and list view. I like the list view for sequences and things like that. But then if I go into B-roll and I double click in, I kind of like having icon view, because if I've got a load of stock footage here, for example, I can see the stock footage. I get a preview. So that's pretty much it for setting up. Now we want to get our A-roll into the timeline. So I can just click the A-roll, drag it into the timeline here, and you can see in this top window, it's already created a sequence in the settings of the imported footage. Now, if I wanted to change the sequence settings, I can go to sequence settings. So you can see my camera shot at 25 frames per second, 1920 by 1080. These are the most important things really to worry about. And a lot of this probably a bit advanced for this video, but for example, if I dragged in a 4K piece of footage, it would create the whole sequence in 4K. But YouTube, 1920 by 1080, perfect size, and it's not going to take up too much data or space. So we're okay with that. So now we want to cut the footage. So if I press C, you can see it swaps to this razor tool here. So V is the selection tool where I can actually select the footage and grab back and forth, and C is the cut tool. And now if I press delete, I can delete the cut. Another good thing to do is actually look at the waveform here, because I know I start talking here. So the closer I can get to where I start talking, what's up guys, Ryan here back, the more accurate it's going to be. We can use this slider at the bottom to zoom in and out. But there's one thing I want to do before I actually start cutting this. So I want to get my audio right first, because I would rather get the audio right now than cut it all up and then have to replace all the footage later. So if we play it through. What's up guys, Ryan here back. You can see the volume is only coming up to about -18 dB, and we really want it about -6 to -3. We don't want it going into the red. So if I hit play, with another play, I'm using the space bar, by the way. Absolute banger video for you today. So obviously it's a bit quiet. So we're going to right click, we're going to go to audio gain, and I'm going to put 10 dB. Now let's have a look at the levels. What's up guys, Ryan here back with another absolute banger video for you today. It looks good, but it's still a bit low. So I'm going to go to audio gain and I'm going to go 3 more. Today I'm going to be taking you from a complete noob in Premiere Pro to an absolute pro. So that's not too bad, but here's an extra tip. Something I've been using recently to get my audio really good is Adobe Podcast Enhance, and it's free if you've got the Adobe suite, which if you're in Premiere Pro, you probably have. So I'm going to, first of all, I'm going to click my footage. I'm going to go File, Export, Media, and I'm going to go into my YouTube folder, and I'm going to export A-roll MP3. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to select Format, and we're going to just render this MP3 out. So we're just rendering the audio out. So now I've got an audio track for the MP3. So what I'm going to do is go to Adobe Podcast Enhance. We're going to open this up, drag our MP3 in, and you can see this is just enhancing the speech. It takes a few minutes. By the way, I'm going to leave this enhanced footage in the folder for you, so you don't have to go through this step. Alright, so you can see it's enhanced, and what we're going to do is go download, and this is going to download an enhanced version of the audio. I'm going to grab my enhanced version, copy that, and paste it into the YouTube assets folder so that you can use it easily. Now check this out. I'm going to drag the MP3 back into Premiere Pro, Control B, I'm going to make a new bin and call this audio. Now, if I drag this audio underneath, let's have a look. What's up guys, Ryan here back with another absolute banger video for you today. And you can see the audio is really clean and nice. So what I'm going to do, hold shift, select my A-roll and my audio, and I'm going to go to link, and this means if I cut, it's linked them together so we can just continue as normal. I mean, you could have used the original audio, but I want to show you exactly what I do, so I'm not going to skip anything. So let's check the levels again. Today I'm going to be taking you from a complete, it's hitting about -12. We can put this up 2 dB. And then I'm going to do one more thing to the audio. So I'm going to go over here to the effects tab and I'm going to type para. And you're going to see parametric equalizer. We're going to drag this onto the audio. And then I'm going to go to effects controls, edit. And now we're going to put loudness maximizer. So let's play it through. And what we're going to do is we're going to just take the highs up a little bit. Noob in Premiere Pro to an absolute pro by editing this very YouTube intro. I'm going to take the highs up and it sounds nice, and then I'm going to get the lows just where they were in the middle, and now we've got a nice crispy high end. You'll be able to download this footage or work along with your own footage, and by the end of it, you'll be able to navigate the Premiere. Cool. So audio is good. Now we're good to cut. I genuinely use C and V quite a lot, so we're going to hit C just before what's up, guys, because, you know, YouTube, no one's got an attention span, so we want to really hit them in the face immediately. So, and I'm sorry for hitting you in the face. I hit C here, I make a cut. Now, I could delete, but then I've got to drag everything over. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Shift and click delete, and it's going to delete and pull everything back over. So now we're just going to work through the A roll and cut it up until we've got a really tight intro. So let's check it out. What's up, guys? Ryan here, back with another absolute banger video for you today. Today I'm going to be taking you from a complete noob in Premiere Pro to an absolute pro, and there's a gap here, so I'm going to hit C by editing, and then I'm going to go just before my next audio, Shift delete, to an absolute pro by editing this very YouTube intro. Here's a tip for YouTube as well. When you finish a sentence talking to the camera, don't look away, because you can see now when we cut, I look away and then it's going to cut back to me looking at the screen. This is something I need to work on. YouTube intro. You'll be able to download this footage or work along with your own footage, and by the end of it, so there's a little space here, so I'm just going to cut this. It's like this. Plus we'll touch on some color grading and more, so don't miss out. This one's going to be amazing. And then we're going to cut on the screen going black straight into the video. I just like doing this. I don't know why, it's cool. And that's it for the first part of the video, guys. So if you've been following along, you can see I just cut, delete, make it tight, get the audio sounding nice, and then you've got a nice foundation to work with. And then later on, we can add in our B-roll and things like that. But in the next section, I'm going to go into music, and we're going to add a nice little track to just make this awesome. Alright, guys, we are back, and now we're going to add some music to our video, and I'm going to show you how I kind of like audition tracks. So basically what I'm going to do, I mean, I'm going to make the screen a bit smaller here so you can see what's going on. I'm fitting a wide screen and a small screen. Don't worry about that. Just get the idea of what I'm doing. So I'm going to stick my video on the left of the screen, and then I'm going to have Artlist on the right of the screen. You can use free music, search royalty-free audio, especially with YouTube. You need royalty-free. Artlist, all the music is royalty-free. You won't get a strike if you use Artlist. And I'm a partner with Artlist. So if you want 2 months free and you buy a max plan, which gives you, well, I've got the max plan where I get footage, sound effects, music. It's all included in there. There's a link in the description below if you want to use that. If not, go on Google, just search royalty-free music. You should be able to find something. So here's what I do when I'm auditioning music. So I'm going to go over to music, and I like funky, groovy music, fun music when I'm doing an intro. I also like the hip-hoppy, the deep sort of stuff. So what I'll do when I go over to Artlist, first of all, I'm going to turn the volume down, because realistically, I want to preview how it sounds when my video is playing with the music lower. So first of all, let's have a look for the themes. So genre, funk is always fun. So I'm going to put funk, mood, groovy. We could even just, the more things you put in, it kind of like narrows it down. I could even go genre, hip hop, and we can just play around with how a few of these sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play my video on the left of the screen, and then I'm going to play the music on the right of the screen. What's up guys, Ryan here, back with another absolute banger video for you today. Today I'm going to be taking you from a complete noob in Premiere Pro to an absolute pro by editing this very YouTube intro. Now, let's just go with the good old funk, because funk always seems to work. And master your sound so it sounds amazing. I'll show you how to create titles just like this, graphics just like this. Plus we'll touch on some color grading and more, so don't miss out. This one's going to be... So I found my track, it's an absolute banger. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to download this track, and because we're very good people, we're going to open up our folder. We're going to copy the track, go into our YouTube folder and paste it in, and then we're going to drag this into audio. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to go into our audio and we're going to drag this below. Oh, look at that. It almost fits perfectly. So let's see how this works out. Now, the music is going to be way too loud to start. Look. What's up, guys? Ryan here, back with another app. So as you can see, music's too loud. By default, I'll go audio gain -25. We'll just take that straight down. What's up guys, Ryan here, back with another absolute banger video for you today. Today I'm going to be taking you from a complete noob in Premiere Pro to an absolute pro by editing this very YouTube intro. My thoughts are, this finishes a bit later. There's a little bit of a build up, but I want to go straight into it. So I might find a bit in the audio. By the way, if I just want to listen to the audio on its own, if I press this S, it means solo. So it's just going to solo the audio track. And I can open the tracks. So the tracks above are the video, tracks below are the audio. You can press Alt and scroll the wheel to zoom in and out. You can press Shift to scroll left and right. But I don't want to get too complicated. Basically, all of this is adjustable. So let's find where the music starts on. Bum, 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 bum. So if we zoom right in here, see how this starts on the bum. So I'm going to cut, I'm going to ripple delete, which is our shift and delete. What's up guys, Ryan here, back with another absolute banger video for you today. Today I'm going to be taking you from a complete noob in Premiere Pro to an absolute pro by editing this very YouTube intro. You'll be able to download this footage or work, and if we solo the track, we can see how loud the track is on its own. So about -25 is actually good when, so we want our main audio, if we solo this, be able to navigate the Premiere -6, and then our main audio below is about -25. So this is just beautiful. Demystify it so you can just jump in, you know where everything's at, you know the shortcuts, but that's enough. Grab your coffee and let's get to work. And it just fits perfectly. So the next thing I like to do when I've got the foundations of my video set up is I want to get the essential assets in. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to be rough. I'm not going to animate as I'm going because that's just going to make things complicated. What I want to do is I just want to go in and put placeholders for what we're going to put and where. Then we'll get into maybe some jump cuts and I'll show you how to scale and animate and do the text and things like that. But right now we're just getting the B-roll in. So let's have a listen to what I'm saying and where would be appropriate to put the essential assets. What's up guys, Ryan here, back with another absolute banger video for you today. Today I'm going to be taking you from a complete noob in Premiere. Alright, so I'm saying noob here, so let's put a title in noob. I'm going to click the text tool down here, the type tool, and I'm going to type noob. You can see that this has created the graphic noob in the timeline complete. So if we click on all the text here, you can see that this control panel for the text pops up on the side. Another thing you can do is go window and open up the essential graphics panel, which is going to open up on the right. I prefer to use the essential graphics panel. So basically you've got everything you need here on the side. So you can align noob, you can change the fonts, you can align it to center, make the text wider, the tracking, all the general things that you would imagine you'd want to do with text. Now this is where After Effects, you can animate a bit better, but I'm keeping everything in Premiere Pro for this video. Let me know if you do want an After Effects video. So we're going to double click on Noob, and I'm going to pick a font that I like. So I'm going to go, let's have a look at Clash Display Bold. So I like this. It's a little bit edgy. This is a free font that you can download from Google, but honestly, use whatever you like. Now we've got the slider over here where I can make it bigger or smaller. And if I just press V, make sure I'm selected, I can adjust the graphics like this. So we'll go there. I want a bit of a shadow on it. So I'm going to make the shadow completely black. And this is the opacity. So let's make the opacity 100%. We can put shadows in here. You can change how wide the radius of this is and then how soft it is. So I'm going to adjust this until I think it looks okay. You from a complete noob in Premiere Pro. So now if I want to duplicate anything in the sequence, what I can do is I can hold Alt, and in Premiere Pro, if you hold Alt and drag, it's going to create a duplicate. Where I say Pro in this timeline, if you see down here, this is where I say Pro. So I'm always looking at the waveform. The Pro, now we've got a duplicate, and I can drag this across. If I hold Shift, it'll keep it on the line, and we can put Pro here. Taking you from a complete noob in Premiere Pro to an absolute pro by editing this. Because we go Noob Pro, I feel like I want to cut in a little bit on my face by maybe 10%, because these jump cuts keeps things moving. So if you click on your footage here, you can see now we've got these panels at the top, and we've got a scale panel. So if I zoom in with scale and I go to maybe 120, so you can see it zooms in, but the problem is now it's zooming in on my chin. So maybe I want to drag the position up a bit, so I'm zooming more in at eye level. And as we zoom in, I'm more off on the right. So now I can use the other number to pull me across to the left a little. To an absolute pro by editing this very YouTube intro. You'll be able to... So see how it just makes it a lot more dynamic, and you can also change the numbers of these. So you could put manually 880, 620. This is good if you do like a lot of moving around a screen and you want it to be consistent. You can just remember the numbers. You can also, if I click on motion here in effects controls, and then I click on another piece of footage and paste it, it's gonna paste those parameters in there. Again, stick with me. There's not too much more that you need to know to really make a decent video. Now, when I started, the most confusing thing for me was keyframes. And when you understand keyframes, animation and everything like that, it's going to be a lot easier. So in this next clip, I'm going to give you an example of using keyframes. So what a keyframe does, if I click on the A roll here and I'm at the start of the clip. Now, this little stopwatch in Premiere Pro and After Effects is a keyframe. And what this does, when I click this, you're saying at this point in time, the scale is 100. Now, if I move forward in time and I scale up, between these 2 points, it's going to go from the one number to the other number. This will work with speed, opacity, anything that has a stopwatch between this point and this point. We can get a bit more complicated with the speed of things going, but again, I'm trying to keep this super simple yet professional. So what we're going to do is I'm going to delete that second keyframe. I've made a keyframe at the start of this clip. Now at the end of this clip, I'm just going to use my left and right arrow keys just to make sure I'm on the end of this clip. I'm going to go to 110. Now what's going to happen is there's going to be a slow zoom as we watch through this clip, so check it out. YouTube intro. You'll be able to download this footage or work along with your own footage, and by the end of it, you'll be able to navigate the Premiere Pro timeline. I'm going to demystify it so you can just jump in. So what I would be doing here is I'm going to add more B-roll that's included. So where I'm talking about we're going to cut and we're going to edit and we're going to use audio, I'm going to leave clips in the folder provided. I can't show you the clips now because I'm using clips from what I'm recording right now. It's kind of a tricky thing to give you a course on editing an intro while editing the intro. There's a lot to it. So let's keep going and look for some other essential assets. I'll show you how to create titles just like this. Where I'm saying just like this, now what I imagine is So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Alt, drag my previous title across so that we've got the same font, the same size. I'm going to change the text to just like this. So I'm going to show you two ways to animate this. So we can do a simple way and a more complicated way. So I'm going to find where I say just. So I say just here, like here, this, and then just like this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to just like, delete this, go back to just, and delete like this. And now we're going to get titles just like this. So that's version 1. That's a really simple version. As you can see, it's coming from the middle. It's coming from the middle because we have the center aligned to the middle. Whereas if we wanted it to come from the left, we can just align it to the middle, and then we could cut. Suppose we went here and just deleted the this here. It's not going to go from the middle because we've aligned it to the left. It's just like this. I like this though. This looks good. After this cut, I don't really like it just disappearing. So I'm going to add a little 110 on the scale and maybe nudge my head up a little bit. 560 here. It's just like this. Graphics just. And now the second way that we could do this is we could animate a mask around the sentence. So if I delete these two, I'm going to click on my text. I'm going to click on this little pointer icon up here, and I'm going to click on mask path. I'm going to click on the arrow, and I'm going to draw a box around just. And now you can see we've got a box around just, and just has disappeared. So if I click on the mask path and I set a keyframe, just before the like, I'm going to set one more keyframe, go forward one frame, and then I'm going to click on the mask path, and I'm going to set a new keyframe and just pull this around like, and then I'm going to create another keyframe, go forward one keyframe. The reason I'm going forward one keyframe, not just going one keyframe, two keyframes, is because it's going to keep going. So between this keyframe and this keyframe, the path is the same. Then we move the path in one keyframe, so there's no long animation. Go to our last keyframe, make one more keyframe, and then mask path, and we can do this. This is just a cool technique, a little bit more advanced. You could just do it the way I showed before. Titles just like this. So for graphics just like this, I could go over to something like Vect-Easy, right? And I could go to vectors. I could type subscribe in here, and we can download any of these subscribe icons. You can get images and graphics everywhere. You just search royalty-free images and graphics. But this is a good time to show you my favorite plugin, and I've got Premiere Composer here. So there's a ton of stuff you can do in Premiere Composer. I have the subscription plan, and by the way, I can leave a link for this in the description if you want it, but they do have a free pack. In fact, it's just gone to subscription. I'm not 100% sure on a free pack. Whatever happens, I'll leave the free pack and I'll leave the pay pack in the description below. But I know they have an amazing subscribe animation. So all I got to do is click here, click add. I can just move this, and then all I got to do is drag this over so it cuts. Here's an extra important thing. So see how when I'm dragging this, the cut kind of stops right on the line. That's because I've got snapping on. So if I press S, you can see this little magnet. If I turn snap off, I have to be really accurate, and it might not be right on time, you know, if it was by here, right before the cut. But if I press S and put snapping on, it's going to snap things to the timeline and make it a lot easier. Okay, so for the number one plugin, what I want to do here is I've taken a scrolling screenshot, which I've included in the assets pack, which I want to zoom in on, but I don't want to show you it yet, you know. I want to make it a mystery. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this screenshot out. I'm going to click P to make a little keyframe. I'm going to go to the end of this clip where I'm talking about it, and I'm going to drag it down. And now we're going to get this little animation, because I'm going to show you the number one plugin that I use absolutely every day, and it makes my life. Okay, and now because I want it to be a mystery, I'm going to go to effects and I'm going to type blur, and now we can add a blur to this. So I'm going to drag Gaussian blur on, and there's a bunch of different blurs you can use, but you just go to effects, search blur, and all your effects are going to be up here in the effects controls panel. and I can just turn up the blurriness like this. So now it's going to look like this. Make sure you stick around to the end because I'm going to show you the #1 plugin that I use. And we could even put a question mark. We could animate a question mark in like this. So I'll put a question mark, align it to the middle. We can scale this up. So I'm just going to make the question mark bigger. We'll align to the middle. And I want the question mark to be more visible. So another thing that I can do is we go to our project panel. If I right click a new item and then color matte, that is going to enable us to make a color. So let's just go for like a cool purple here. And I'm going to call this purple. And now you can see in our project panel, we have purple, and I can create a new bin with this and call this graphics. So we'll drag the graphics in, and now we can drag into a graphics folder, and now we can drag purple in. But obviously I still want to see the blurriness. So all I do is I go up to my effects controls and I just drag the opacity down a little bit like this. And now we get to the end, because I'm going to show you the #1 plugin that I use absolutely every day, and it makes my life so much easier. As always, I'm not really digging the purples, so I'm actually going to just make this black. And if you need black, you can just go new item, black video, and it's just going to create a black video. And then you can just drag this out as long as you want. And then we can just bring the opacity down on the black video. And I want to animate the question mark in, so I'm going to go 3 frames in, click on the question mark, keyframe on P, 3 frames back, and we're just going to drag this off the screen. And now we're going to get, because I'm going to show you the #1, and then we can just drag them back to cut here. So much easier. As always, guys, I need a like here, so I'm going to search in Premiere Composer, and I already like this like. A like good. So we can scale this down. I can move this across. I want to make sure that the like is coming up where my hand is. And I'm cutting on the like part. As always, guys, a like goes a lot because I just love YouTube. And if you want to stay up to date, make better videos, even make money with videos. So I'm going to type subscribe in here. We're going to use these to drag these across videos. Drop a subscribe as well. It's all very much appreciated. We just hit 5K. We've just hit 5K. So I actually want to go and get a screenshot of my 5K. So to animate this 5K, I'm going to go 5 frames in again, hit P, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go back, drag this down, and we're going to get this. Hit 5K. And I can also add a Gaussian blur to my footage behind, and it's just going to make the footage in front stand out a bit. So if I go to like 50, hit 5K. Thank you so much. And finally, if this project isn't enough, I've got tons of projects on Skillshare. And just quickly, as you can see, as you're dragging things into your project panel, you're going to get things like this. So it's worth staying on top of it. So purple is a graphic, black video is a graphic. And what's this? This is a graphic as well. So just keep on top of dragging them in. Now I'm talking about Skillshare. I'm going to show you something really cool. We've got the screen capture of Skillshare here. Now you don't obviously want all of this in there, and it's a different size. So how do we defeat this? So if I double click on Skillshare, you can see it's opened up the full thing in the preview window. Now this is a golden tip, and to be honest, I didn't know about it for far longer than I'm happy to remember. But I really see how it's dragging that line across this part. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the part just before the line starts dragging across. Ryan invites you. If I press I and then drag across and then press O, I've created in and out points. And now I can just drag this footage straight into the timeline, but it's only going to drag the bit I've selected. So you don't have to drag an hour-long clip and try and cut it in the timeline. This is absolutely time-saving. But you can see it's also dragged the audio in, and when I click it, it's selecting the audio and the screen. So if I press Alt and just click the audio, now I can delete the audio because I don't want like the background noise from the screen. I'm going to drag this down. I'm going to go to Effects Controls and I'm going to scale it up because I want it to look clean and I don't want the borders. And now we get this. Get a free month with the link in the description. You can create Hormozy style reels. You can learn After. And now when I'm talking about these parts, I'm going to do the same thing, except you can see I go over the different things that I've got. So you can see I'm scrubbing across on this part. So I'm going to go I here, zoom across, and O. And now we drag this in. Really want to focus on this part. Create Hormozy style reels. You can learn After Effects inside out. So make sure to go check that out. But that's enough. Grab your coffee. So guys, let's just recap on what we've done. We've done a lot. We've fixed our audio. We've linked it together. We've made the audio better. We understand the timeline. We've cut the A-roll tight. We've added music. We've put placeholders for our B-roll on the top. But one thing that I completely forgot to show you is if I right click and then reveal sequence in project on my control panel here, this icon here is the sequence. This icon here is footage. When you use footage to make a sequence, it's going to make the sequence in the folder. So the sequence is here and the footage is here. So we want to drag our sequence out. We want to right click. We're going to click New Bin from Selection and we're going to call this Sequences. So if I double click on this, it's going to open up the sequence. So if you lose that, it's probably a bit late to be saying this in the video, but if you lose that, you just double click and your sequence is back. Hopefully that didn't happen all the way up until this point, but you know, nobody's perfect. I'm trying my best. All right, guys, so now all that's really left to do is to color grade the footage. I might look lovely here, but we can still give this more of a look. So a lot of people get two things confused, color grading and color correction. Color correction is when you're just fixing the highlights, the lowlights, the shadows, the whites, the blacks, the exposure, and you're getting the image perfectly exposed and the temperature perfectly balanced. That's just for a neutral shot. Color grading is where you add a look to the image. So what we're going to do, you can see my panels look a bit different here. So I went Workspace, Color, and then Reset to save layout, and you should get something that looks similar to this. So on the left, we've got Lumetri scopes. So make sure you clicked up here. And the scopes I have are Vector Scope YUV, Parade RGB, and Waveform Luma. I know this looks insane, but don't worry, it's going to be a lot simpler. Now on the right, you've got controls, and these change the white balance, the tint, the saturation, the exposure, which is how bright it is, the contrast, the highlights, shadows, whites, and black. And then we've got a few extra options here. Now I'm going to keep this really simple for you, but what we're going to do first is we're going to look at the exposure. So I don't want it too dark like this. If it was dark like this, I would bring it up. I've correctly exposed my shot when I shot it, but if your footage is too dark, you want to bring it up. And if you look over on the left side where you see the black and white, so we don't want this pushing into the top. We want it just below, and this should be nicely exposed. My footage might even be a tiny bit overexposed at 0, but to be honest, I'm just really happy with it. Now, the next thing is the temperature. So we want the whites to look white. So we can click white balance and we can click on a part that is supposed to be white, say here, for example, and it's going to adjust the footage accordingly. Let's pick this spot on my head. Look at that. The perfect white spot from my hairlight gives us the actual white. So if we turn this off, you can see it's really warm. Turn it on, it's actually gone a bit cooler. But to be honest, again, I like how it was already shot. If it's too warm, we can bring over to the left side to make it a bit cooler. And if it's too cool, we can bring it over to the right. The main things that you really want to consider here is if we go to Lumetri scopes, the saturation is this wheel here. If it's too saturated, this is going too far into this line. So we want to make sure it's not too desaturated, but it's not too saturated. So on this line is good. Also, this line here is the skin tone line. So if I tint and I move it to the right, you can see that we're way more towards the red than the yellow. And if I move it to the left, it's way more over here, which obviously means the skin looks green. So you want to adjust this line so that you don't have a purple cast on the green. And in the middle, it almost looks a tiny bit too green here, so maybe a little adjustment. To be honest, I just like how this footage looks. Now I'm going to show you something I wish I knew a long time ago. Instead of adjusting this footage, suppose we make some adjustments here. I know I don't want to look like this, but if we made adjustments here, this next clip isn't done. So you would think we have to copy and paste, but we don't. What we need to do is we just click up here, click source, and this is going to color grade all the footage, not just the clip you selected. So what I'm going to do, because I'm happy with the exposure, it's exposed, it's not too bright. If it was too bright, it would be blooming. If you look at like the folds in the shadows, that's a good indicator. So if the white's too high, the shadows are gone. And if the blacks are too low, then the blacks disappear. And you can check that here. So if I bring the blacks all the way down, you can see the blacks I just pointed to the screen. You can see the blacks hit that bottom line. So you don't want the blacks hitting the bottom line. You don't want the whites pushing the top line. And then the contrast is the middle. So you can see it stretches and narrows the middle. I like to just keep mine neutral. I've got my camera set to faithful, so it just comes out quite nicely. And then if we go down to creative, this is where it's really fun. So you can see we've got a look here in creative. So I can flick through, and I've got a bunch of different LUTs here, but I know the ones that work for me are SL Ice, and this is going to apply the look when we've color graded. So if we flick through, we get a preview here, but I'm going to look for the SL Ice, the blue, and you really want to be looking at the skin tones. How good do the skin tones look? This kind of thing looks really good, but there's some better options out there. Blue Steel gives me a nice orange and teal look, and now I can adjust the intensity here. So we're looking on this side of the screen, and that gives us the preview of how this looks, and it just adds that amazing bit of contrast and look to the whole video. I'm going to go through now. I'm going to tidy up this edit because there's a couple of things that I want to do that I can't do while this is all on the screen, so that I can show you the final version, and if there's anything else that I've missed, I'll make sure to cover that. I'm going to disappear, do that now, and I'll be back with you in a flash. We just went insane. Alright guys, so we're back in Premiere Pro, and as you can see, I have made some changes. So I didn't actually plan for this to go this crazy, but I just made it good, and I thought, well, we may as well just keep going. So what I'm going to do is just walk you through each step, what I've done. I've added some sound effects. I get the sound effects in the Premiere Composer extension. I pay about $20 a month, and you've got 2D special effects, you've got backgrounds, you've got essential sound effects, billions of them. You've got typography, hand-drawn stuff, icons, elements, just basically everything. It's like $20 a month. You click, it's too easy to use. I literally couldn't live without it. This is the #1 plugin, but it's got another feature, user library. So if I have my own sound effects, I make my own music packs as well, which I'm going to be teaching more about in my upcoming course, which I'm working on. But you can make your own folders and sync them up. It's just amazing. I'll leave my affiliate link in the description. If you buy from that, I get a little commission, but I am not selling this for commission. I am genuinely going to need to explain how I've done a lot of all this. I added an overlay to this intro, so let's watch this bit. What's up guys, Ryan here back. And this just grabs the attention a bit. It looks cool. I know people who are going to want to know how to do that. So all I've done is I've actually got a sound pack from Blind Dusk. So Blind Dusk, these guys have just got some amazing assets. I've got the full package. Look, Flash 50, you can buy everything. And this is just a transition bundle from Blind Dusk, if you like the look of that. I set the blend mode, so if we click on this, if I put normal, you can see it's a video, it's just a normal video like this. But I put the blend mode to screen, which removes the black, and we've got this. It's also got a sound effect attached, and I've lowered the sound, so if I solo the sound, that's what we get. And my sound effect again is like -24 is kind of where the music is. To do a zoom, you can animate the scale and you can animate the position, but what you can't do is get the blur. So I go to effects and I add a transform effect, which allows you to, if I go to transform here, you can drag this onto your clip, and now you get another transform, except with this one, you can turn the shutter angle on and off. And if I put it at 0, you can see there's no blur. But if I put it at like 180, there's a bit of a blur. And then I just added a whoosh sound effect, which I search in Premiere Composer to do this. Buying a video for you today. And there we go, 2 whooshes. So let's keep going. I wanted to make it more interesting when noob pops up. So again, I've just got a noob transition there, and it just happens on the click. Now there is literally just a little flicker before Pro comes up. I just think it makes it look more interesting. I also removed the drop shadows from noob and Pro because I just didn't like them. And then I've got another transition into the next scene. Pro, by editing, this is just another one of the Blind Dusk sound packs, but you can search all sorts of overlays, even in Artlist or Pexels probably have them. You can search royalty-free overlays. This is just a film leader overlay, that's what it's called. For this next part, I've got a black video, and all I've done is over 3 keyframes, 1, 2, 3, animated the black to increase to like 95%. And then if we have a look at the text here, and the opacity, I've animated the opacity on, off, on, off, on, off, and that gives it this flash effect, and then I've got a sound effect under it, so it goes. So download this footage or work along with, use your own footage, download this footage. I think it looks cleaner sometimes to just have a darker background rather than the shadow. With your own footage, and by the end of it, you'll be able to... This is an interesting one. So if I turn off this basic 3D effect, you can see I've got a screen capture of the course, but I added this basic 3D effect, and all I've done to get the specular highlight, you can turn this on and off. This isn't gonna show if you are on 0 distance to the image. Look, if I see it's not there, but if I push it back, it does. So what I do is I put the distance a bit further back, and then I scale up the image so it fits. Now I've got a little keyframe on swivel, and it just looks like it's got a nice light over the screen and swivels. I think this looks amazing. You'll be able to navigate the Premiere Pro timeline. I'm going to demystify it so you can just jump in. Now moving on to the transition. So I've just again used a pan transition from Premiere Composer here. So pan, I click that left to right, it adds it, and I turn the volume down. Just jump in. I've went on Artlist. Again, you can get 2 months free if you use the link in the description. I looked for jump and I found this. I liked it, it's colorful, and I did a speed ramp for this guy jumping across. You know where? And then I added the whoosh sound effect for more drama. So a speed ramp, I'll give you a quick tour of how the speed ramp works. So my astronaut's running up here, and obviously this is the normal speed he jumps. So with a speed ramp, all I'm going to do, I'm going to open this track up, I'm going to right click, show click keyframes, time remapping, and speed. And now what I do is I set a keyframe at the start where I want it to speed up to. I find the place where I want the speed to stop, so that's going to be where he lands, click that. And now you just drag the speed up of that selection. So if I go to like 600, but you can see it's a bit jumpy, so what I do is I drag these handles out, and he's got a more gradual jump. And if you want to take it even further, you can smooth the speed ramp, and I think I've just made that speed ramp better than the original. Let's have a look. So you can just jump in, you know where everything's at. To get this flash effect, what I've done, I've created a new adjustment layer by going right click, new item, adjustment layer, dragged an adjustment layer in, then I've gone to levels, and by default everything is at 255. So all I do is I find the point where it cuts, bring the levels to about 50 on the white input, go back to the start, 255, and you can see we get this gradual increase in exposure. You can also keyframe it out, so if I wanted to, I could put the keyframe back to 255 here, Here, all I've done is I've taken a screen capture and I've zoomed in. I've right-clicked, speed duration, and I've made it 1000% on the point that I want. Height, edit, and master your sound. I've got a slow scale on this using the keyframes up there, so it sounds amazing. I'll show you how to create titles just like this. I decided to go with a black background and 3 keyboard clicks for the just like this. Just like this. Graphics just like this. Plus we'll touch on some color grading. This is interesting. This was an accident. I was trying to do a normal mask. So if I turn the mask off, I've just got this. But I actually, if you click on a piece of footage, I'll delete the mask for now. And then you click this square, it's going to give you a mask. I've drawn a mask around the first piece of footage, which is actually, So I've drawn a mask, but I've increased the feather and I've increased the mask expansion. So the more you increase the mask expansion, you can see that it's got rounded edges, which I pulled out using these buttons like this. And then the mask feather makes it blend nicely. And it was an accident, but it looked good. Because my screen's too wide, I managed to show the left and the right because I just duplicated the clip like this. And then I moved the mask to the other side and I brought them closer together. That way, it shows them in time. It's all very much appreciated. We just hit 5K. Alright guys, no camera because I just carried on editing to add 2 more extra things. So I'm going to show you just quickly. We went into After Effects a little bit for this section. Buying a video view. So what I did was I right-clicked on a little cut, replaced with After Effects composition. Then I double-click. I go up to the rotor brush tool, drag it over to cut me out. Then back in our composition, we just have me cut out. I duplicate it, remove the rotor brush, and I sandwich video and banger in the middle, and then add sound effects here. Buying a video view. One more thing I did was I just added 2 emojis from the Premiere Composer pack, which I've linked, and that gave us this noob in Premiere Pro to an absolute pro. And also conveniently, that little flash makes it look like the sad face goes to the happy face. I think that's awesome. Noob in Premiere Pro to an absolute pro by editing this very... So that's it, guys. I don't think we can even talk about this anymore. This is way longer than I thought this video was going to be. It was going to be like a couple of tips for beginners, but it looks like now you're professional video editors. So if you enjoyed this video, obviously like, subscribe. I've said it 100 times. So if you could do it 100 times each, that would be great. Thank you. Drop a comment. Let me know if you learned something new. If you didn't, if you hate me, drop a dislike, whatever you want to do. I'll leave that up to you. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye. What's up guys, Ryan here, back with another absolute banger video for you today. Today I'm going to be taking you from a complete noob in Premiere Pro to an absolute pro by editing this very YouTube intro. You'll be able to download this footage or work along with your own footage, and by the end of it you'll be able to navigate the Premiere Pro timeline. I'm going to demystify it so you can just jump in, you know where everything's at, you know the shortcuts. Then I'm going to show you how to cut a tight edit and master your sound so it sounds amazing. I'll show you how to create titles just like this, graphics just like this. Plus we'll touch on some color grading and more, so don't miss out. This one's going to be amazing, and make sure you stick around to the end because I'm going to show you the #1 plugin that I use absolutely every day, and it makes my life so much easier. As always guys, a like goes a long way. If you like this content, I'll put this out for free. I could be selling this, but it's free because I just love YouTube. And if you want to stay up to date, make better videos, even make money with videos, drop a subscribe as well. It's all very much appreciated. We just hit 5K. Thank you so much. And finally, if this project isn't enough, I've got tons of projects on Skillshare. You can get a free month with the link in the description. You can create Hormozy style reels. You can learn After Effects inside out. You can create the perfect Fiverr gig. It's all there, so make sure to go check that out. But that's enough. Grab your coffee and let's get to work.